I'm sure many of you remember well the Hurricane Juan that hit us in September 24th, 2003. For those of you who weren't around at that time, there were lots of trees that were blown over, so the power was out for days. And I just so happened to be living with Father Tim at that time at St. Thomas Aquinas Parish, where he was assigned, and I was at St. John the Baptist, and we were living with two other priests from our community and two seminarians. And so that evening after the hurricane, all six of us were invited across the street to a neighbor for an outdoor barbecue. And so after supper, it was already getting fairly dark when we got home. So what's the first thing you do when you get in the house? You turn on the light switch and nothing's happening. And so then we start, looking for the flashlight, and it's like, well, it's not where it's supposed to be. So who's the last one to use the flashlight, or who moved the flashlight, and all that kind of stuff. And we're fumbling around trying to find the flashlight on the counters and all that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, Father Tim's standing off to the side, very calm and serene, because being blind from birth, he says, "Welcome to my world," right? And then he literally led one of the guys through the house, up the stairs, and upstairs to where they were able to locate a flashlight. Now, for those of you who've been with us for our preaching series entitled "The Holy Spirit, the One Who Comes Alongside," you might be thinking, "Oh, I get it. Father Tim is like the Holy Spirit who guides us amidst the darkness and difficulties of life and helps us find our way." If you're thinking that, that'd be very, very clever of you. But that's not where I'm going with this homily. I want to talk about power, and consider some aspects of the Holy Spirit's power and its effects on us, and how we go about receiving the Holy Spirit's power. In the first reading, Jesus tells his disciples that you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you. The Holy Spirit is God, so his power is infinite, unlimited. It's a dynamic, explosively alive power, and it's available 24/7, never any outages, right? And it's free. And we can always receive more of this infinite source of power and love. At baptism, we become children of God so that we can become like Jesus, not just in name as his followers, but become like him in holiness of life and in mission. But I'm sure you've already experienced this, that it's pretty much impossible to move towards being holy like Jesus without the power of the Holy Spirit. The same is true for participating in Jesus' mission. Again, in our first reading, Jesus said, "You will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses to the ends of the earth." Being a witness is a way of being on mission. The disciples witnessed through their words and deeds. They witnessed through their words of teaching and preaching and testimony of who Jesus was. And they witnessed through their deeds, right? They performed healings and miracles, and they witnessed through their love and caring for one another, and their joy in all circumstances, even martyrdom. And all this, of course, was done in and through the power of the Holy Spirit. You and I are incapable of authentic witness without the power of the Holy Spirit. In the gospel, Jesus further spells out our mission. He says, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them and teaching them," right? To go out as I have commanded you. It's easy to recognize our parish mission statement is built from this final command of Jesus at his ascension. And our parish mission statement reads, "To make and equip disciples who joyfully go and invite others to Jesus." But again, we understand that we do this in and through the power of the Holy Spirit, relying on and being guided by the Holy Spirit. We need to do this as a parish, but it begins with us individually and our receptivity to the Holy Spirit. There's an analogy that uses light bulbs to help illustrate our receptivity and our cooperation with the power of the Holy Spirit. So in this analogy, first you have the electricity, which is like the Holy Spirit, right? You don't see the electricity, but you see its effects. The Holy Spirit is infinite power, so there is never a shortage of electricity to the light bulb, but there are different effects. So for example, depending on how well the light is plugged in, you ever have that? The light's not working and you just touch it a little bit, and screw it in just a bit, and it comes on, and there's the effect is night and day difference. There's also, you can have two similar light bulbs, but different effects. One produces a bright white light and the other a dimmer yellowish light. Both have that same electricity, right? Both have the same power flowing to them, but the different effect is based on the bulb's receptivity, or we could say in this analogy, that the bulb's cooperation with the power. So applying this analogy to us, we have various effects. Take, for example, Mother Teresa's cooperation and receptivity to the Holy Spirit. What was the effect? You could say a very bright light, right? And then take me. Not such a bright light, right? It's not so bright at all. But actually, you and me and most of humanity, we aren't always the brightest bulbs. Seriously, because why? Well, we depend on ourselves and our resources rather than on the Holy Spirit. Just think about it. On the one hand, you have your own finite, limited resources, or faulty resources. And on the other hand, you have the infinite, perfect power of the Holy Spirit. Yet which one do we tend towards relying on? Ours, right? That's not too bright, right? And this is, of course, a result of our fallen human nature. And all of us struggle to surrender our lives to the will of God and cooperate with the Holy Spirit. Now, of course, we don't control the Holy Spirit in any way, but we can be receptive and open to His influence. But again, because of our fallen human nature, we need to be reminded to rely on the Holy Spirit's power in every aspect of our lives. And particularly, we need to remind ourselves daily in our personal prayer, right? In our personal prayer by relating to the Holy Spirit, by developing, working on our relationship with the Holy Spirit. And we can start very simply with the first prayer of the church, which was, "Come, Holy Spirit," right? Or "Come, Holy Spirit, I need you," or "Come, Holy Spirit, make me explosively alive in you." And then when we say that, then we pause and take some time to try to receive, to be receptive to the Holy Spirit and His presence and power. Now, it's also necessary to go outside of our personal prayer space to express our need and desire for the Holy Spirit in a more public way. Because the Holy Spirit is not limited to our, or constrained or restricted to our inner world, right? The Holy Spirit is outward focused. And so, it's a stepping out in faith to make our desire for the Holy Spirit visible. I'm thinking specifically of when we ask others to pray over us. Not just, will you pray for me, but, when you go home or whatever, but, pray, lay on hands and pray for me right here, right now, speaking those prayers out loud together. Now, we're going to have that opportunity to do this kind of prayer at our Pentecost vigil. It's going to be an evening of praise and worship, lifting our voices and our praise to God. This kind of helps open us up. It helps us to be receptive to the action of the Holy Spirit in us, and wanting to be receptive to his infilling, to his outpouring, so that we can be stirred up, as Father Brian spoke about last week, right? That fanning into flame, the graces of our baptism and confirmation, together, invoking the Holy Spirit to come upon us, right? Welcoming the Holy Spirit to come upon me, come upon our parish, right? Praying, in a sense, come Holy Spirit, light me up, right? Come Holy Spirit, light up our parish, right? We need to rely on your power. We truly do need to rely on the Holy Spirit's infinite, perfect power and not on our own limited resources. We need to receive the Holy Spirit to live as children of God, becoming like Jesus in holiness of life and in mission. The Holy Spirit's power is a gift from the Father to be received gratefully, and it is a grace to be cooperated with unreservedly. So come, Holy Spirit, right? Come, Holy Spirit, light us up.